Hi guys! Guess what time it is? It's time for my monthly manga haul for October 2016. And I actually have quite a few titles here because of the Viz sale that happened early in the month on Right Stuff. I decided to use that to finish out one of my favorite series of all time. Very exciting, as well as to catch up on another. And so there are a lot of Viz titles in here, but I also have some new releases from other publishers as well as one interesting used pickup, so I'll do that at the end. And we'll start out with my Sustain the Industry titles, alphabetically by publisher. And actually, this month ended up having a bit of a spooky theme. There's a lot of spooky books here, which I think is very topical, and I've actually gotten to quite a few of these because I'm like, oh, I want to read that during Halloween. So, Halloween being the entire month, apparently, during the season of Halloween. And there's others that I'm hoping to get to in the next week. I am very busy right now because there's, I'm working on my JET application, so wish me luck on that. But, yeah. And so, we're going to start out with Drawn and Quarterly, which the book I got from them this month is the second anthology collection from Gegege no Kitaro. This one is called Kitaro Meets Nurari-hyon, and that is the first story that is covered in this. This, of course, is a classic yokai manga from the 60s by Shigeru Mizuki, if you've read some of his Gekiga titles, like Onward Toward Our Noble Deaths. That's him. This is his more fun side, and certainly what he's known for in Japan, because this ran for years and years and years. This is a story about a yokai boy named Kitaro, he's right here, or on the back there, who was born in a graveyard, and basically he has like a yokai post box, and people put in like requests for help with yokai related issues, and he decides whether to help them, which he's definitely a very sort of morally ambiguous main character. You don't get that so much like in the early parts of the series, which this covers and the first one covered, but certainly later on, and you do see hints of it here that, you know, he's not really operating on a very strong moral compass. He basically takes the issues he thinks are interesting, or might be a hassle for him. And, yeah. And, this is a fantastic read for Halloween. It's spooky, but it's not scary since it's for kids in Japan. And I would really recommend it, definitely, if you like have kids you're looking for like a spooky read for. This is perfect, but also it's just great even if you're a supposed grown-up like myself. It's just a ton of fun. You learn a lot about yokai, especially because this was translated by Zach Davison, who has translated all of Mizuki's works. He seems to be the only translator that Mizuki trusted. And, he also literally wrote the book on Japanese ghosts, which is called Yurei, and I recommend that, but this includes at the beginning a continuation of his essay on the history of Kitaro, and then at the end we get this nice encyclopedia of all the different yokai that appear. And in terms of art, I've decided I want to start showing off the art more in these series that I'm showing, because I like when people do that in their own videos, so I have marked off some pages to show. This is really typical in terms of you see like the cartoony character designs, and these really beautifully illustrated backgrounds. Mizuki, of course, a master, he can draw pretty much anything. And then for a more spooky shot, we have this shot of the Odora Odora, which is a hair-based yokai, attacking this dude. So the yokai look really cool, too. And yeah, Nurari Hyun, of course, is a very famous yokai. If you've read Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan, in Japanese that's called Nurari Hyun no Mago, Nurari Hyun's grandchild. So he's actually a character in that series from what I understand. But this is going to be a much more accurate to folklore representation of Nurari Hyun, where he is sort of this yokai who appears as a rich, snooty old man and sort of invites himself into people's homes and drinks their best tea and acts like he owns the place, and then he leaves, and after he leaves, the spell breaks and the people realize they've been haunted by Nurari Hyun. So that's a fun story. Yeah, recommended. Kitaro's great. More people should read it. I hope we get lots more of these anthology books. The next book I got is a volume 1. And this is from Kodansha. This is volume 1 of Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. Shuzo Oshimi is the creator of Flowers of Evil, which I've read about half of. And then I stopped because I think my library stopped collecting the series. I have seen the anime as well, which is great. Haters to the left. I love that anime. And I've also read Inside Mari, which the ending wasn't good, but you know, there's stuff I like about his style and stuff I really don't. But this is a vampire manga. It's about a boy named Makoto who gets turned into a vampire by this girl. She attacks him in the middle of the night. And just his life changing after that. And other than that, it's pretty similar to other series by Oshimi. I got a feeling that his main character that he keeps drawing, because it's always the same character, must be autobiographical in some way. But, whatever. This is, pretty solid vampire manga so far about, like, teenage ennui and, like, isolation and, I don't know, possible sexual awakening. Like, this kid, like, when he becomes a vampire, the first, like, hint of bloodlust that he gets is actually from, like, girls on their period. So you get a lot of him staring at girls' skirts really creepily, which is uncomfortable, but in that Oshimi way that I like, where it's like, ugh, you know. Can't say I've seen that one before, though. It seems like that'd be a natural thing to go to, especially with the connection between vampires and, like, sexual desire, but yeah, so we get a lot of actually really beautiful color pages right in the beginning. Definitely like Oshimi's art. It's very expressive. And then the other page I want to show is actually when Makoto is, like, having a physical and nervous breakdown because of his sort of bloodlust, and just the way that it's drawn is really incredible. You see him sort of warping everything. Everything's shaky and weird, and, you know, if you've ever, like, felt sick or faint, then this definitely sort of gets at that feeling. But I'm interested to see where this goes. I like vampires, as I've mentioned before, and this so far is a solid vampire book. So I'll be collecting the next volume. Hopefully it doesn't have, like, a shitty ending, like Inside Mari. The next one I got is another spooky book, and this is volumes 5 and 6, Omnibus, of Frank and Fran. And despite the, kind of suggestive covers, this is a really, really gross body horror series about a sort of stitched up doctor named Fran, who is the creation of a mad scientist who is sort of missing in action, and she's acting in his stead. Basically, her whole philosophy is that she wants to help anyone and she has to just keep the patient alive. That's her goal in life, is to keep the patient alive, but her definition of alive might be a little broader than most of ours. And the gross out horror in this series is top notch. I have an example bookmarked here. This was a person. So, that is so gross. This is one of my favorite horror series, and I'm really glad we're getting it in English. This is from Seven Seas. Yeah, I love this series. If you like gross out body horror type of series, this is one of the best. Next, we are getting into the Viz stuff. And we're gonna actually start with a BL title. So don't run away. I won't talk about it too long. But this is the one I decided to catch up on during the Viz sale, because the Sublime stuff was on sale as well. And that is the first and second omnibus of Don't Be Cruel by Nekoda Yonezo. That's Hiroku Shinaide in Japanese. This is one I've, already read through, illicit means. But, that tends to be what I do with BL, because I'm always nervous that it's gonna turn out really bad, which this one, the first volume, is everything terrible about BL. But I actually like all the volumes afterwards because they're really cute. You know, it's like the nerd and the bad boy in a cute, unexpected romance. But the first volume is really rapey and coercive and terrible, so... But then it turns into a completely different series after that. Nekoda wanted to try something new, but then she was like, nah, this isn't me. So, it's probably one of my favorite Nekoda series. I also like, Moso Electal, so it'd be nice if we could get that one. That one doesn't really have a rapey beginning, so... but yeah, it's just cute. I like Nekoda's art. It's not just, the sexy bits she's good at drawing. I really like just the intimacy between her characters. Just the subtle ways they sort of lean into each other, or are always just trying to sort of touch each other or peck each other on the cheek. It's just cute. You don't see that attention to detail in terms of portraying a couple who actually like each other in BL a lot, and I appreciate it. The next series is another one I started to catch up on, but I still have 5 more volumes to catch up on it. I'm so behind. This is one of my favorite shonen series, which is, I guess, one of 2 long-running shonen series I actually, consistently read. But this is Magi, Volume 12, Volume 13, Volume 14, with my favorite character on front, I love Koha, and Volume 15, Scheherazade. So, this is just a really fun shonen series. I really like shonen series that sort of embrace the fact that they're aimed at sort of a younger audience and really have a sense of wide-eyed adventure and idealism, and I feel like this series does. But it also has some interesting politics and stuff. Got some art here. And also I am a really, really big fan of the 1001 Nights. So this has a lot of fun references to it. Character crossover, obviously the main characters are Aladdin, Alibaba, and Morgiana. So we also get Scheherazade right here. And there's enough, it's not an adaptation so much, but there are enough fun references that you get the feeling that Shinobu Otaka has read the 1001 Nights and is a fan. So here's some fight illustrations. And it's a good shonen series. I recommend it if you like, fun adventure shonen titles with a unique setting. So the series that I completed, I had the first 3 omnibus volumes of before, but now I have all of it, all 18, and that is the perfect editions of Monster by Naoki Urasawa. I read this a couple of years ago from my library, so these, I have read it before, like, twice, and I've seen the anime on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I'm very familiar with the story, and it's one of my absolute favorites. Definitely my favorite I've read from Naoki Urasawa. And just a really great thriller. And now I finally have it in my collection, which is great, because it was out of print for so long. But these perfect editions are gorgeous. Here's the last one. The backs are all boring. But Naoki Urasawa, of course, is a master. His style is very cinematic, which I actually marked one of my absolute favorite sequences from the series. I knew immediately which one it was. It's my favorite. This story is about a Japanese neurosurgeon working in Germany named Kenzo Tenma. The name Tenma being a reference to Astro Boy, of course, because Naoki Urasawa is a huge Tezuka nerd. But basically, he's like... Oh gosh. It's been a couple years. It's like... He becomes disillusioned with the German hospital system when he's forced to let basically an innocent person die so that he can instead perform surgery on someone who's rich and gives a lot of money to the hospital, and that causes him to become disillusioned with the entire system. So when he has the opportunity to rescue a small boy who's been shot through the head, or like this high-profile actress or whatever, he decides to save the child and go against the hospital, and it ruins his life. All of his job prospects are just down the toilet after that. But he saves the boy, and so he's happy, because he feels like he's done the right thing. But, just a little after that, all of the sort of heads at the hospital die. They're poisoned, and they die. And, that ends up working out in Tenma's favor. And he doesn't think much of it until years later, when he meets the boy that he saved, who is a serial killer named Johann Liebert. And basically he gets framed for the murders, his fiancée leaves him, and he goes on the run, basically looking for this killer Johann, who he feels like because he brought Johann back from the dead, he has to be the one to stop Johann. And of course Johann is the monster in the title, but this is also him. He is a fascinating villain and terrifying. But I think this spread is a great example of just how cinematic Urasawa's art is. Like, can't you just see that playing out in a movie? With the camera moving closer and closer, switching between them. This series is brilliant. It's an interesting exploration of the idea of empathy. You know, is it ever justified to kill another person? Pacifism. And it's a thrill-a-minute, really adult sort of thriller. I know Guillermo del Toro was thinking about doing a drama series on Hobo of the series, and I think that would be a great place for it. It's not gonna happen because Del Toro's working on, like, Pacific Rim 8 or whatever. But, like, that would be a great idea, doing a live-action version of that story, because that's really, I feel like, where it belongs. The next book I got is Tokyo Ghoul, Volume 9. Here we've got my wife on the cover. My other wife, Toka's my main wife, she's my secondary wife, Akira. And my husband on the back, and I ship them together so much. Kiss. But I read this and it was great. This is really veering off from where the anime left off, so it's nice to get some story I haven't seen before. And I love it. Tokyo Ghoul's great. Here's some art. I really like how expressive Ishida's style is. That's what I really like about it, not so much like the ghoul action or whatever, which is cool, and I love the body horror aspect of the Kagune. But I've always thought of Tokyo Ghoul as a series that doesn't really have its heart in those epic action sequences, but more so a series that is made through quiet conversations between interesting characters. And it's in those quiet moments that I really, like, rekindle my love of Tokyo Ghoul. The next one, these last two new titles are from Yen Press. I just picked them up yesterday, so I haven't read them. But this is Horimiya, Volume 5. And this series is super cute. The art's not really anything special, it just looks like a shoujo title. But it's cute. Yeah, this is just an adorable shoujo romantic comedy, and I don't know if there's anything else I need to say beyond that. It's, super adorable and likable, so. Yeah, the next one I got is Volume 2 of Lieselot and Witch's Forest. This is by Natsuki Takaya, the creator of Fruits Basket. And it looks like some shit goes down in this volume, but I haven't read it yet, so we'll see. I was trying to find some art that showcases what I like about her style. The art itself is just, you know, fine. It's very stark, but I love her use of paneling. It's almost like retro. It almost reminds me of how, like, a Year 24 member might use their panels. And also her use of shading to convey, like, complex emotions. So we have some intense something or other going on back here. And she's another one who can put very complex emotions on a person's face. So this is a story I was intrigued by in the first volume about this girl named Lieselot who is exiled to the east of the east of the east, where there are supposed to be witches, and we don't really know why she's been exiled. It's a mystery, and she meets this guy who reminds her of someone she knew in her youth, so I'm interested to see where this goes. And the final title for this month is my used title. This is actually something that I had been interested in picking up after Manga Hoarder, another manga YouTuber, recommended the series in one of her videos. It sounded right up my alley, and I happened to find the first 5 volumes very cheap on eBay. So I think I only have 1 or 2 volumes left to collect, and that shouldn't be too hard because it didn't look like they were going for terribly expensive right now. But this is Oya Yubihime Infinity, which I don't know why they didn't translate that as Thumb Princess, because that's easier to remember, even if it sounds stupid. Or Princess Thumb. I read the first volume and I wasn't expecting it to be as weird as it is. It's definitely dealing with the idea of destiny and fated love. And it seems to be playing around with it a lot, which I like the idea of destined love if they're gonna, like, really play around with it and, like, make a point about it, so I'm very eager to see where this goes. I love the heroine. She's very sort of smart and kind of interesting, the way that she's a little more complex than she seems. The series art is basically just shoujo art, but it gets really pretty when she's having like a flashback to her past life, so... Basically, she's got this birthmark on her thumb, and so does her sister. And she meets this guy, Tsubame, who does nail art for all the girls in school because he's looking for somebody who has the same birthmark, which he has that butterfly birthmark on his thumb too, because he is convinced that she is his destined love. And something I like about him is that he's, like, canonically bisexual and has dated this guy in the past. I kind of like that because I am also bi, and it's so rare to see that acknowledged as a thing in manga. So, yeah, I've only read the first volume so far, but I'm eager to continue. Thank you for the recommendation, Manga Hoarder. And I can't wait to pick up the last volume or two that I need. And that's basically all of the manga that I got this time. Something like 30 volumes. Close to that. Oops. But yeah, I'm really happy to have all of Monster. That is really, definitely, probably like top 5 manga for me. So yeah, lots of great titles this time. And happy Halloween, guys! See you next month. Bye!